Okay, we are live. Bear with me for 1 second here, folks. All right, we are live on Amazon. So today, if you're just tuning in, which you all will be because I just started, we are going to be looking at the GPD XP. This is brand new, just came out, and this is a portable gaming system running Android, and it is the successor, if you will, to the GPD XD, XD Plus, which I have right here. So this is the XD Plus. So this is the old one. And these are very popular because they weren't that expensive. I think they're still available. They perform quite well, and they're great little game devices, even for game streaming. The problem has been with these is that, and thank you, Mark Dell, for the Discord. I think somebody installed some bots on my Discord channel because it's actually doing a lot of active stuff. Hey, Mark Dell. Mark Dell is here. So this is not it. This is the new one's in here, but this is the one that it's kind of replacing. So this was the GPD XD. It was kind of based on a Nintendo DS kind of design. This new one that we're going to get to is the XP. And if you're watching Amazon, you can see what it looks like even before I unbox it. And we're going to unbox this and start testing it. I'm going to do as much as I can in the time that I have available before the wife and kids get home. I think we've got about 2 hours that we can mess around with some stuff here. So Romeric is here, Mark Dell is here, and Joe Tyson is here. Not seeing as many viewers as I usually do because I'm starting an hour later than I usually do. And Travis Cunningham on Amazon has the XD. So I have the XD Plus, which was a little faster than the XD. And then this one is the brand new one. Now the specs on this, and I'm going to put this in the chat on, actually I'll put it on both chats just so that people know what it is. Oh, so Mark Dell is the manual bot on Discord. By the way, it's great to see you, Mark Dell. Hope you're doing well, and I appreciate all your efforts there. And Adam Louse is here as well. And Travis says hi on the Amazon chat. So I'm just going to put in the chat room here the specs on this so you know, or you can tell other people when they ask what the specs are, what it is. So let me get everything adjusted here. It has been, and that's right, it's Taco Tuesday. In fact, I am cooking tacos this evening. So that is the plan for tonight. All right, so the processor, and then we'll unbox it. The processor is a MediaTek Helio G95, an 8-core. It's got 2 high-performance cores and 6 whatever performance cores. 6 gigabytes of RAM and 128 gigabytes of storage. With an SD option. So that's the specs. And Alan, thank you for upgrading your membership on the channel. Much appreciated. And I'm just going to paste these into the Amazon chat so that we have that in there. And then we're going to get to the unboxing. I'm going to record a live unboxing so that you all can see the process by which I make videos on this channel. So let me just get that set up real quick, and we'll go from there. Yeah, I'm excited for this one. I love these GPD devices. I have so many of them. They make, by the way, if you're looking at a Steam Deck, they have the Steam Deck right now. You can buy, they have it's an i7 with the XE graphics. It is really cool stuff. All right, so let's do the unboxing here, and then we'll start playing with it. And we got a new follower on Amazon, Phil Hill Knows Smart Home Tech. Thank you for the follow. All right, so let me hit the record button, and we'll get cooking. Lewis is asking what version this is. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think there is only one version because they have like different removable controllers on it that you'll see in a minute. Let me just double check and see. Yeah, I only see one version. Although it looks like there's a couple of them, isn't there? let's see, there's that one, so this one and that one. So there's one that costs a little bit less. I think they all have the same processor, so I think it's a matter of controller choice. If I'm wrong, you can correct me. Mark was wondering if I tried any retro gaming on the Mac yet. You know, I haven't done that yet. I should do that. I haven't. You know what's funny, and I'm going to do a little follow-up video on the Mac sometime this week. I have found with that Mac, I like it a lot, but the jump from like Intel to M1 felt more significant on the MacBook Air with the M1, because that was the first M1 there was. The jump from the Air to the Pro has not felt, to me, like for what I do, as significant. And what's interesting is that it, like the video output, like the exporting of the video that I do, takes about the same amount of time on the Air as it does on the Pro. It's maybe a marginal difference. So it's more subtle than it was otherwise. Super chat from Zam. Thank you very much for your super chat. Zam says, I see a live stream. I must show up. Excellent. I am waiting for the GPD Win Max. Oh, that's right. They've got one with a Ryzen 7. That's a big unit. I've got the older one over there. So it's good stuff. And then Mebro3030 is here. Welcome. All right, so we're going to do an unboxing video real quick. And this will be of relevance to the live stream because we're going to unbox it live. And it's got a, I was looking at how the box works. It's got a cool mechanism to it. So, all right, so let's begin. I'm going to get the old one out here just to make a point of reference. And we're going to start recording, and we'll see how this unboxing goes, all right? All right, so here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hey, everybody, it's Lon.TV, and it's time for another unboxing. I just got in something I've been really excited to check out, the GPD XP. This is a handheld Android gaming system. This one, as you'll see in a second, is kind of inspired by the Nintendo Switch. The old one, which I have in my hand here, is the XD Plus, which was inspired by the 3DS. And these are gaming-centric Android devices. And you may not have heard of GPD before, but they have been pumping out year after year some of the coolest handheld devices you'll ever see. And they even make PCs that are in handheld format. And they kind of perform close to maybe where you might see the Steam Deck performing a little later next year. So if you're into this kind of thing and looking for a fun little device to play emulators on, these things are really, really cool. Now, before we unbox this, I do want to let you know, in the interest of full disclosure, this came in free of charge from GPD. However, no one is reviewing what you're about to see before it was uploaded. Nobody unpaid me to unbox this device, and all the opinions you're about to hear are my own. So let's crack open the box here and see what is inside. And again, this is an Android-based device. And it's actually got a really cool box mechanism here. Check this out. It actually tilts the box up towards you. There's a lot of nice subtle touches that they put into this stuff, including their industrial design. So here is the unit itself. Again, very Switch-inspired. And the reason is that you can detach the controllers, I believe, from the side, maybe this side here. And we'll explore. Oh, there he goes. It just pops right out there. And they have a couple different controller options that go into it. I don't know if they sent me any other controller options except this one. But you have the ability to swap this out for controllers with different capabilities, at least on this side. And I will show you some pictures of that as I am talking here. But the control of surfaces feel pretty good here. One of the issues that I've had with GPD hardware in the past is that their sticks did not click. That has been rectified here. So we have 2 clicking sticks here. We've got kind of an Xbox layout to the controls, a really nice D-pad here. It's very clicky and stiff. It feels pretty good. We'll see how it plays when we do the full review, which will be coming up soon. You've got shoulder and trigger buttons all in the right place here. It's got a nice feel to it. The handles here on the back give your hands some nice comfortable grips on it, so that is really cool. This is running Android, I believe Android 11. This has a MediaTek Helio G95 processor on board. That is an 8-core chip. It's got 2 A76s and 6 A55s on board, 6 gigabytes of RAM and 128 gigabytes of storage. It's a substantial upgrade over the old one. They even put in a cooling fan on this to allow it to perform more consistently. Now, it does support 4G networks, although I don't think it supports those networks in the United States. I think it might just be China for that. But you can put SD cards in it to augment its storage, which is something that the old version did. There is a USB-C port here on the bottom. I am not sure yet if it supports external displays, but we will explore that in the full review. So that's the unit itself. Let me boot it up here while we go through the rest of the box. We'll see if it's got a charge, and it does. It's got a big battery too, like a 7,000 milliamp hour battery on board. So inside, actually, we got some more stuff, including the other controller option. So this, they say, I think they're kind of recommending this controller for first-person shooter games where you have buttons on the side here, maybe some of those MOBAs as well. So that will slide in and replace this one. And I guess they're looking at maybe using the touch screen in a supplementary way. So for example, you could take off this controller and put this on the end there to protect the port, and you can use touch commands along with the stick if you want. And they have ways, which we'll explore in the full review, to look at mapping controls to the touch display. So you can also, if the game doesn't support the joystick, actually map controls in that way. So you have some of those in the box. You've got a USB Type-C cable here for charging, and you've got the USB Type-C quick charger, and it looks like this will go up to 15 volts at 2 amps. So it will charge a little faster than your usual charging adapter there. So that is what is in the box, and we're going to explore more of this in my full review coming up, so stay tuned for that. But for now, we're just unboxing everything and getting it going. By the way, the display on this is running at 1080 by 2400, so it's a little bit wider. There is a camera on it as well, so you can make voice or video calls on it if you want, among other things, but there's no camera on the back here. And again, we'll explore all the different ways you can use this device in an upcoming review. So stay tuned for more on the GPD XP. And until next time, this is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching. All right, that was a one-take wonder, wasn't it? You know, the problem I have is that I don't know if I was accurately describing what those things did, but I will, you know, those extra controller options, but I will explore that later. So it came with about half a charge on it, and it feels pretty zippy. And I think what I might do first is connect this to my Google account and get some stuff installed on it. And it's got like its own launcher. So I don't know if we can like jump out to like an Android launcher or not. I hear the fan running on it, so the fan's already cooking on this sucker. So I'm sure you could probably replace the launcher if you want. I'll tell you, the buttons feel nice on this. They're all very springy, tight buttons. Oh, I got to get connected to my Wi-Fi here too. So let's connect to the Wi-Fi. And let me take a look at what the chat is saying. Well, lots of people chatting now. Thank you, Mark Dell, for your support of the Super Chats. And Louis says, oh, I'm not sure about that. Yeah, no, you can't upgrade any of those Chromebooks for the most part. You are correct about that. And Gut Wall Street is disappointed that they didn't have a Snapdragon on board. I guess that would give you more predictable performance. I think they're probably constrained by parts. I don't know if the parts are available. It's going to turn the screen orientation thing off here. I don't know if the parts are available for them to make use of the Snapdragon. And let me just go and connect the Wi-Fi up here for 1 second. Turning on. I got to go into my settings here to get the Wi-Fi going. Wi-Fi. And connect to my local Wi-Fi here. This does not support Wi-Fi 6. So you only have Wi-Fi AC on this one. And a question from Joseph about the Steam Deck. Yeah, I do plan on getting one. I did put in a deposit, my $5 deposit, so I will definitely do that. DVD King wants to know, can you do APKs? Absolutely. This sells for much less than the Steam Deck does. This is right now like $350, $400, something like that. So it's a much less expensive alternative. And what's nice is you'll see as we work our way through some stuff here, you can use this to do game streaming. So for example, if you wanted to connect up with Xbox Game Pass, you can do that, right? So there are some things that you can do to stream games. I'm going to let the battery go as long as we can. We've got about 50% in the tank, but I think that should be enough. And I'm just going to log into my Google account here. And we're going to do my test account because we're just going to grab some stuff. And if you're interested in pricing on Amazon, you can see it right on the screen. And if you're on my YouTube channel, there are links in the description, so you can find your way to that. Let's see here. I just got to type in my account and get that logged in. So I did want to install some things from Google Play. We'll get the official versions of a few things. Oops. It's a big wide screen on this thing. And the fan, you can hear the fan running. It's not that loud. All right, and then we'll check for any updates that it might have. And if I'm not mistaken, what's going to happen here is it's going to probably load in a bunch of apps too. All right, so the first thing I want to try, because this is something we always do, is I'd love to see if we can get the Dolphin emulator running and what that capacity. Actually, you know what we need to do first? We need to install 3D Mark and do a benchmark, and then we will look at the rest of it. So I think what I'll do, just to be safe here, to give it a good fair shake, is we will plug it in and just get some charge going to it so we can get a feel for that. And I'm also going to put my DS File app on there so that we can grab some files off my server. So I'm going to search for 3D Mark. So I'll give you an overview of that. And yeah, this sells for a lot less than the Steam Deck. All right, so we're going to look for 3D Mark. And we'll run like the wildlife test. You know, we've got a bunch of tests that we can run on this thing to get a feel for how it works. And I'll zoom in a little bit on it too. And so the right-hand side is replaceable insofar as being able to swap out a controller. And you can definitely hear the fan going when you are running here. It's on the low speed right now. I guess you can, the fan speed is fixed. Let me give it a little bit more brightness here too. All right. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is run a couple of benchmarks on this sucker and see how it does. Yeah, and we'll check and see in a few minutes if that USB port can do video out. It did, the old one did. The old one has an HDMI output on it. So it had like a distinct HDMI output. So we'll see if they've integrated that into the... It didn't mention anything, though, in the product specs, so it's possible that it doesn't. And I do have a Switch Lite upstairs. It's probably about the size of a Switch Lite, but with a wider, shorter screen. All right, so it kind of forced itself into this orientation, which is odd. I'm going to download Wildlife, and I'm also going to download Slingshot, because the Slingshot test we've been running on these Android devices forever. And I had told the screen not to reorient itself, so we'll see how these end up running in the end. So we'll let these download real quick, and we'll see how they do. Sally wants to know, is this for Android-only games, any Steam or Xbox games straight from the source? So you can stream games to it like you can on any Android phone. And it'll also run Android games. And what a lot of people buy these for is for emulators. So they can run their favorite emulating devices. I will say that so far the Wi-Fi has been a little sluggish on this thing. But I'm not sure if it's just the 3D Mark web server. And yes, it does have a punch hole camera. And hello there, Martin. And it, I suspect that given the width of the screen, when you're running a lot of stuff, it's going to run in smaller size windows, especially on the emulator side. And it also is curved, and I think the curve is going to cut off some stuff too. So we'll see how that plays out. And the question is on buttons. They are clicky buttons, but they are not, like, they don't have like a mechanical click to them, but they are definitely clicky and not squishy. And that includes the D-pad. Everything clicks. Let's go back to 3D Mark and see if it's ready for us. It's still downloading. So I think what we'll do is run Wildlife first, and then we'll do the Slingshot. Wildlife has become more of my go-to because it's cross-platform, so you can really compare it quite well to other things. And let's see what else we got here. Make sure I'm not missing anybody. Okay, good. And take some more questions here while we're waiting for things to load in. Aaron Johnson saw the video yesterday about retro exhibits. It was quite fascinated by what was shown in the video. One thing I liked, yeah, it was it's always fun to go to those things. And I'm finding now when I go to some of these retro game stores, although I'd love to own everything, I don't really need to because it's just kind of fun to see what, just to see those things again. And the display resolution, in case anyone's asking, is 1080 by 2400. So you've got a lot of extra real estate there, but it is 1080 width. So when you do a 1080p, it'll just give you a little bit of borders on the side. What is this? Microsoft Laptop SE. I've never even heard of this thing. I should take a look at that. Where do you find a Microsoft Laptop SE? Let me see if I can find one. I'm intrigued. I should definitely get one of those in. Oh, they just announced it just now. Microsoft announces a Surface laptop that runs a new version of Windows 11 for schools. I'm all in on that. It looks like it's just for education, so you can't buy it at the store. They are going for Chromebooks with that one, though. Yeah, we'll try to get one in if it's available at retail. If people can't get one, it's a little hard to review that stuff. And Mark Dell says you can do remote play. Yeah, so you could do Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, but you could also stream your console directly because it's Android. So if it runs on Android, it's going to run on this. And these controls will work. All right, so let's do Wildlife first. And we're going to do the regular Wildlife, and then we'll run the extreme one. And I like to run it unlimited, which is less fun to look at, but it does give us a more accurate result. And you can see what happens here. So this is a 1080p demo, if you will. So you see how it oriented the screen. So you will have like larger black borders on the side because the screen is much wider than a typical 1920 by 1080 would be. Barra said it was announced a couple of hours ago. So here's what I need you all to do in the community here. Let me know where I can get one of those things, and I will review it. And yeah, AMD made a big deal with Facebook. And I have a feeling that AMD is going to sell a lot of processors, but those Facebook devices aren't going to sell that well. But we'll see if I'm wrong. So far, things are about what they usually are around this time of the year. Usually Black Friday itself is when things really pick up, but the economy's been so wacky that I have no idea what to expect this year. We'll see what happens. Usually my viewership will start to pick up this month, and I'm seeing a little bit of an uptick. But I have to review stuff. I have to have stuff in, and it's tough to get things in here. And it has a hole for the camera, so there is a camera on here if you want to do video chats and stuff. And I will say this has taken a while for it to run. You know what I might do is actually run it at the higher fan speed and see what happens. And by the way, and there's also a comment here about Stadia. This would run on Stadia too, so great for Stadia. Yeah, game streaming is becoming more mainstream, pardon the pun. So it will do Stadia, Luna. I don't have subscriptions for all these services, but typically if it works well with one, it works well for all. And Knapp says that the Verge, yeah, I know. Thank you for that qualification, because they don't always get things right. But they did say that it is focused on repairability, which is good because the regular consumer Surface devices are far from repairable, right? But for education, that's important because kids are always breaking stuff. And I don't know much about the Odin Super Lucerio, so I am not sure what that will look like. I will say that this test is taking a while to run. Like when we run it on my iPhone, it blinks and it's done. So I'm a little nervous about what the score is going to be here, but we'll see when it finishes up. And you know what we might want to do? I haven't plugged this other one in a long time, but maybe I'll charge up my old one and just see how it compares on wildlife. I have scores for the other version, but I'm going to charge up the old one here and just see what it looks like in comparison. Because there are people that will be upgrading their existing XD to the new one, or their XD to the XP, if you will. So we'll see what we get here. Asmir is here. Hello. Thank you for tuning in. And if you're just tuning in, we're just waiting for the benchmark to finish up on this thing. And I don't want to like adjust anything while it's running. But it looks pretty cool. I like the design. I've always been a big fan of these. And I love the XD for emulators. It's such a great emulation device. So the XP presumably should be faster. We'll see when it's done with its test here. And I might crank the fan up if that's an issue. Although this is like the first Android device outside of an NVIDIA Shield that I've tested that has a fan on it. So it actually has active cooling. So we'll let that run out here. We just set the clocks back here in the United States. I don't know if you do that in your home countries, but I'll tell you what, it's getting dark at like, it's like the sun is starting to go down now. So I was about to, normally what I would do is do my live stream and then take the dog out for a walk. Today I went in the opposite direction. Yeah, so, oh, that's the unlimited test. Okay, so that's why it ran slow. Okay, so if you want to see where this compares, and actually what I think I'm going to do is pull this up on my screen so you all can see it tuned in at home. So let me go and load up my vMix thing here. So if you go to Lon.TV/benchmarks, I will show you how this compares. And for some reason, though, there it is, okay. So Lon.TV/benchmarks, and I will put this up on the screen also so you can see it. So let me just get my NDI thing going here. And so we can see how this comes in versus other devices. Now we're running the Wildlife Extreme test, which is the one that just ran now. So let me turn it back on here. So if we go to, let me pull up my screen here for you. And I'm just going to put my thing on Do Not Disturb. They just changed, I upgraded my Mac to the new OS, and now it's like everything's in a different place again as usual. Okay, so now we're going to go over to my window here, and we're going to add this to the mix. I have a feeling that this is going to come in is on extreme. All right, what did I do? Oh, I hid the other column. All right, let me unhide the column. There we go. Okay, so let's start with this. I think we're going to be somewhere in the middle down here. I think we're going to be in this area, but we'll see what happens when I run the other one. So GPD XP, and this is running, I'll put the processor in there. This is running with a MediaTek Helio G95. And I'll probably turn off the thing there. So our first score here is 1,354 with a frame rate of 8.10 FPS. Now that's the higher end test. So what I'm really interested in is the lower end one here. So we're going to go back and run regular wildlife. So before we were doing wildlife extreme. So we're going to do regular wildlife now. And we're going to do unlimited. So I think that's what it was, right? It was extreme. I hope that was the case. If not, that score is really low. Let me double check that now. I'm just going to go look at my YouTube stream for a second and just see what the result was to make sure I had the right one going here. And we got a new member. I want to welcome Herb Painter. Thank you for joining the channel. And bear with me for 1 second. Oh, geez, wow. So that wasn't extreme. That was the regular score. So that's a lot lower than I expected. So let me go back to that. So this is actually much lower than expected. So this puts this thing like down here. So it's like in Google Pixel 5 territory, which is not necessarily a bad thing, as you'll see in a little bit. But, you know, there's a lot of stuff above it on the performance spectrum. So what I'm going to do next, though, is run, here, I'll show you the breakdown here. So this is actually kind of on the lower end of what I've looked at recently. And this is a more recent benchmark, so I don't have a lot of history here, but I do have the ability to run one that has more history. So why don't we load up the other one here, which is Slingshot. And like the other one, we're going to turn off the demo. And we're going to run this on the unlimited mode and see what we get here. This one will give us a better score versus the old version, but I really am curious to see how this compares to the old one. And what I might do is run this test twice, maybe one with the fan at the current low speed and one with it higher, because I'm definitely feeling some heat coming out of this thing. So we'll see what we get here. So stay tuned. We'll let that run here. And Sally wants to know, does this have 4G as listed? It does. However, I don't think it works on US 4G networks. I have an email to them asking them that question, so I will try to find that out. And then I've got somebody with emojis as a name, wants to know what this is. It looks cool. So think of this as an Android phone that isn't a phone and only plays games, and it has a built-in game controller. That's what this is. And this is a kind of a continuation of another device that they made a couple of years ago called the GPD XD. So the original was kind of a device inspired by the 3DS, and this one is inspired by the Switch. And this is a company out of Hong Kong called GPD, Shenzhen actually, not Hong Kong. Maybe they're in Hong Kong. No, Shenzhen. And they make some of the most awesome handhelds. They've got full gaming PCs. They've got these little Android devices. They're just great. They're really good. And Eric's Variety Channel is here. I got to meet Eric in person. We enjoyed blue Gatorade. That's all they had at that concession stand. And a coffee. So Eric came out to Retro World Expo over the weekend, so it was fun to meet him in person. Mark Dell, yeah, the clamshell actually is a nice design, isn't it? Because you can fold it up and the screen is protected. So it's, I agree, I kind of would have liked to see that. I have not watched the new Eternals movie yet. I don't go out to the movies all that often. I did see Free Guy in the movies. We went out with a friend of mine. Maybe when Brian Parker stops in, maybe we'll talk him into taking me to see the Eternals. He's the one I went to the other movie with. Heffen says, I don't get the aspect ratio and especially the hole punch camera. My gut on that, I bet you that they were limited by the commodity hardware for displays. I bet you they were trying to find the right mix for the right price. That's probably where they came in at. And you can see what happens when you're running something 1080p. It's just going to cut off the sides. But I think it would have made more sense maybe to have just a 1080p display. And Mark Dell wished he was at the expo. It was a lot of fun. I really had a good time this year. I mean, I had a good time last year, but it was just, I think everyone is just so happy to be able to go out and do things again that it felt like a lot more, like there was a lot more energy this year. Jesse says, I should do more of my YouTube videos from more places around my house. Yeah, one of these days. Problem is my children have taken over the entire house, so there's not a lot of stuff there. Do I believe that putting Christmas decorations up before Thanksgiving should be a crime? You know, it's funny, I took my dog out for a walk, and one of my neighbors had one of their decorations up already. Yeah, I think, now I'm Jewish, so I'm not going to help much in this discussion, but I think like you got to like decorate for Thanksgiving, and then you do Christmas, but you do you. All right, so let's take a look now at 3D Mark Slingshot Unlimited. And here we can actually compare it to the XD Plus that this replaces. Now, if you are just tuning in, or you want to see what this spreadsheet closer, you can look at it. I have it public, Lon.TV/benchmarks, okay? And so what we're going to do is find the spot where this one comes into play. So we got a score of 3,032. And so that puts it right around what you would get out of an iPod Touch, which is not bad depending on what your objectives are. So this is the GPD XP. The score is 3,032. We got 18.0 FPS on graphics test 1, 10.0 on graphics. It's almost like right in line with the HP Chromebook X2 that we looked at just recently. Then we got 60, I think they have similar processors actually, now that I think about it. 32.60 and 18.40. All right, so I'm going to highlight this so that we can look at where this one comes in versus the one that it replaces. And as you can see, it's a pretty sizable update here. So you see that? So the XD Plus, so this is getting a score that's 3x better, right? But it's still not. Ooh, this is interesting. So it's actually pretty close to the NVIDIA Shield K1, and in some areas exceeds it, because the Shield K1, which was at one time the most powerful tablet that was out there, as you can see here, it's very close in performance on this benchmark to that tablet, which had a lot of capabilities. So I think from an emulator standpoint, this might be really, really decent. And we'll see when we actually put the emulators on there. Now, the NVIDIA Shield TV, though, is still better, right? So, you know, it's about double the performance. And closer on some of the CPU tests. But graphically, it's still about twice as powerful. And that chip has, so if you were trying to like compare this to the Switch, the performance on this is not as powerful as a Switch is. It's about half the performance, graphically, because the NVIDIA Shield and the Switch are the same thing. Now what we can do here is we can bump the fan speed up and see if that makes any difference. So maybe we'll just run that one more time for the heck of it. Let's be thorough. And then the next thing we'll do is we'll run some GameCube emulation on this sucker. So now I'm running the test again, but I've got the fan on full blast. I want to see if that makes any difference. And I am not sure what Halo MCC is. Anybody know what that is? Halo MCC? Oh, Halo Master Chief Collection. That's not on Android, though. You have to stream that, right? Yeah, it's Xbox. So yeah, we can stream that. We should be able to stream anything on this thing. But I want to test first, though, is its performance just running native Android software. Mark Dell wants to know, if the kids lock me in the basement, blink twice if you're in trouble. I'm okay. The kids are fine. They're not even here right now. But they have taken over the house. Christmas decorations go up November 1st, Ryan says, in Japan. And Eric says that he's a Messianic Jewish and doesn't celebrate Christmas either. I actually do. I celebrate everything because my wife is Catholic, so we kind of do all the holidays. But I agree, one holiday at a time. I am with you there. I think Black Friday is the day you put your Christmas decorations up. And you know what I did do, because I was sick of paying for Christmas trees that we just throw out every year, so I have a fake tree. It's in there. And it's fun taking it out and setting it up. It's the putting it back with all the stuff, that's always the part that isn't as fun. And Mark says it's insane that nothing tops the NVIDIA Shield yet. And I think that's also driving why the Switch is still like running with what it is. And Aaron noticed some new features on Movies Anywhere. I'll have to check that out, see what we have there. And Ryan makes a very good point here that there's no incentive for, I think you're right. They're as good as they need to be right now. I think the Switch is like the only thing that drives it further. And I think if anything, Nintendo, if they feel a need to go to 4K, would probably be the one to push mobile graphics in that direction. Although Apple is like, so if you go back to our benchmark here, and we go back to the wildlife test, let me pull this up for you. Like Apple's the only one that's doing anything, like they're the only mobile device where you're going to see a sizable difference from one generation to the next. And now that we've been running wildlife a number of times, or on a number of generations of Apple devices, you can see now like there's some movement. So the iPhone 13 Pro, look at the score on that. Isn't that crazy? Right? And the iPhone 12 Pro, so there's like these noticeable performance bumps every year. Here's the 11 Pro. See that? Like it just jumps from, you know, it's a very a nice escalation. And then you look at the MacBook Pro 14, which is like pushing up against my desktop gaming machine upstairs. I mean, it's nuts. But there's nothing that actually takes advantage of any of it. So that's kind of the conundrum that you run into. Looks like the fan doesn't, at least on a short run of a benchmark, doesn't appear to impact the score at all. It's right within the margin of error. If anything, I got a slightly lower score on that. So there you go. Okay, so I'm going to turn the fan back down because it doesn't seem to make a difference being noisy. And it's a fan that's not going to adjust itself, so be aware of that. So I'm going to get Dolphin. Oh, I have it installed already. How about that? Ooh, was this thing installing apps while we ran that set of benchmarks? Let's make sure it's not doing that right now, because it said it installed Dolphin already. Unless it had it installed already. That could be. Yeah, they have a bunch of games that they've installed on this right out of the gate. In fact, one of the things that comes pre-installed is Dolphin. That's funny. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to uninstall it from here just in case this one is an older version. Yeah, what the heck, we'll just run it. All right, allow that. Oh, what I've got to do, though, is I got to copy over a game from my NAS device. Let me do that real quick. So let's run the DS file app here. It's going to connect to my NAS, where I store these things. And I will be right back with you. And the other thing that I'm messed up about right now because of this time change is that I'm starving already. And it's not even 5 o'clock. All right, there we go. Okay, logging in. And let's go to, oh, I got to add something to the mix here. Bear with me. I recently locked down all my security in the house, and now I can't get into my own stuff. So now I've got to like add things to make this work better. So bear with me, folks. All right, let's edit that one. Permissions, we're going to give Jake read-only access to that folder. Okay, that should work. Okay. You can never be too secure, except when you can't get into your own stuff. All right, so I'm going to try a couple of GameCube games on this. And I'm just going to throw this in my downloads folder here. And we're going to do that one. We're going to do this one. And we're going to do, I doubt this one's going to run, but what the heck, we'll try that one too. Okay. And we'll just check on the download status here. Yeah, notice that the Wi-Fi feels a little sluggish to me on this thing. It's, it's AC only. I'm on the 5 gigahertz, but it's downloading very slowly. So there might be a firmware update or something. Let me check for that too and just see if we've got one on this here. I'm pretty sure they sent this to me all up to date, but yeah, the Wi-Fi just feels a little slow. And we'll double check that and just see if there's something afoot with that. So while we're waiting for some files to download, let's just double check that. Yeah, that's super slow. Like it's still downloading the first thing I told it to, and this is on my local network. It's like, it feels like it's running at like very, very slow speeds. And it's got a full connection, full signal here too. All right, we'll let that finish downloading real quick. And nothing ever works when we do a live stream the way it's supposed to. All right. So I have an NVIDIA Shield K1 here too. Sally wants to know, is this VR capable? Probably, I mean, if with one of those headset things it might be, but the problem is that the left-hand controller does not come out. It's just the right-hand side that comes out. So it's not going to fit in one of those headsets really well, so I would probably say not for that. Cantankerous Dave says the pre-lit trees are the best. Yes, mine is pre-lit. It's got lights in there. You just plug it in. It's in 2 pieces, though. But every year it gets a little less, it's a little less stable. I think there's like a shelf life to them. They want you to buy another tree. Ferdinand says that Android tablets are a thing again, even high-end ones. Yeah, let me know what ones are good on the higher end of the scale. I'm finding there's a bunch that are running, Chrome OS. So we'll have to see how those end up working. Rusty says, and this is a good point, gameplay is the only thing that matters. If it's fun, the graphics are secondary. That is true. Now, when I was a kid, graphics were like all that mattered to people, but it's definitely changed a bit. Next live, Lon's top 50 movies with trailers. All right. I'll put something together for that. It might be kind of fun. My taste in movies, I don't watch, there's not a lot of new movies that really appeal to me because they're all just like reboots and rehashes. Like Free Guy, I actually enjoyed that because it felt like something different, something creative for once. So I liked Free Guy. That was a fun one. That's the last movie I saw. Eric says that he feels games peaked in the 16-bit era. Yeah, I think they did kind of peak there, but they were so hard, right? So now like they're making them somewhat easier, so that's a good thing. And Barra says these are the ones that are on the NAS that I own. I do, in fact, every game you're going to watch, I do own a physical copy of. So I can definitely say that with confidence. They're all on my shelf upstairs. Brendan wants to know, are those Topps baseball cards 1987? Yes. I bought a pack of these 1987 cards, a box of them. This is when they overproduced them. And these wax packs are still sealed. Isn't that crazy? I've opened a few up every once in a while. The gum is still in here. It's right there. So this was the year that I was like really nuts about baseball card collecting, and I happened to be on a auction site, and I got like this box for like $10, so I had to do it. And so every once in a while I open one up, and that box is still full of them. So I mean, that box is filled with wax packs, completely sealed. Isn't that crazy? New old stock. So one of these days we'll open up a few more. Ryan says, no time change in Japan, so you guys don't have to wind the clocks back. I'm like way behind on chats here. Brendan was a freshman in high school in '87. I was in 5th or 6th grade. That was the year Star Trek: The Next Generation came out too, right? I was probably in 5th or 6th grade because I was So I was around 5th or 6th grade. So I was 11 in 87. That was the year my brother was born, actually. And Eric got the $69 on tablet. Not so good, he says. So there's your review. Eric was 3 years old in 87. All right, let me see how we're doing on the downloads here. All right, so we got one of them in. So let's try the first game that it downloaded. So let's boot that up real quick. So let's go over to Dolphin Emulator. And I have to do some configuration here. So we have to go to Config, Paths, search subfolders for games. And let's see, default ISO. So go to downloads. I'm not sure what I have to do here. Let's see what happens. Actually, I got to change that path. It's weird. It's pointing to the game itself, which is not what I want. It's like it brings me over to the file browser, but not. Yeah, see what happens. All right, so let's see what happens here. We'll just go get the game going. Sure, I'll be like, just play the game already, damn it. All right, so we'll save that. Nope, didn't see it. Okay, hang on a second. Oh, that's how you do it. Never mind. Never mind. Use this folder. Allow. Okay. So this is Burnout 2, Point of Impact. The speakers are on the bottom. They're actually pretty loud. Oops. And I think I can pull down a... And there's a headphone jack, by the way, on the bottom in case you want to do that. And I think what I have to do before I do anything is I have to configure a couple things here. So let's see, config controls. Interface, let's see. Oops. There we go. All right, so let's see if it... You haven't mapped any of the buttons yet, so we got to... Oh, that did something. I'm not sure what I pushed there, but it did something. This is running Dolphin, in case you're... Yes, I'm running Dolphin directly, but we'll probably put RetroArch on for some of the other stuff. All right, so you know what? We're going to get these controls mapped before we do anything. So let's go back into the settings here. GameCube input, game controller 1, emulated. Okay, so I guess I have to configure this manually here. So input, so I forget the layout of the GameCube controller real quick, so let me look at image of one. Okay, so A is like my main button, so I'm going to put that one here. And then this is showing up as a, by the way, as an Xbox controller, in case you're wondering. So I'm just going to map these controls out. Control stick up, down, left. Yeah, it shows up as an Xbox 360. C stick up, down, left. Oh, shoot, I should have done the other one. What am I thinking here? So we'll do up, down, left, right. Triggers, left trigger, right trigger. And they can do the D-pad here. Up, down, left, right. Rumble. I don't think there's any rumble on this. But now we've got the controls mapped. And we're still downloading. Geez, this is so, I don't know, I don't get it. I got to figure out what's going on with that Wi-Fi. Now this game can be problematic too as far as emulation is concerned. So, but I loved Burnout. Still love Burnout. And we will definitely check and see if Rogue Squadron runs on it, because that one is often the all right, so let's see what happens here. It feels pretty zippy. And you can see how much extra room you get, right? Because it's all right, we know how to play the game. Let's just get to it. And I turn the brightness up a little bit. Actually, it runs pretty good. It's glitching a little bit, which I've seen a lot with this game in the past. So there's a little bit of glitching going on with the video, but the frame rate feels pretty solid on this. Let me just mark the clip here real quick. It almost looks like it's going in between widescreen and see if I can display the game, do like a regular race or something. So they're making you do the so let's see if there's a way. Oh, there's an aspect. Oh, look at that. So you can go to 16:9 on this. So let's see what happens when we actually go in and play it this time. So now I've got it on the 16:9 mode, so that looks a little better, doesn't it? It feels good. Like the frame rate feels solid on this thing, believe it or not. Oh. Now one thing with Dolphin, if I'm not mistaken, is that you get a little bit of like slow down initially as it does all of its shaders and stuff, and then it improves as time goes on. Oops, wasn't paying attention there. So the audio is a little shaky on it, but it seems like it's doing pretty well here. So like that just slowed it down, for example. Let me see if I can get the frame rate on screen here. Settings, graphics settings. Here we go, show FPS. So if you do the compile shaders before starting, that will reduce some of the flakiness there. All right, so right now, this is running at about 60 frames per second. Let me start this again. And that's this, by the way, this result is not a surprise to me, because when you look at, it's a little dim, but I think it might be the game. Because when you look at some of those Google phones we looked at last year, the Pixel 4a and the 5, this actually feels really nice. The sticks are really good on this. Like, there's not too much travel, but there's just enough. You know what I mean? Like, it's got enough so you can get some precision in your control. Very nice thumbsticks. But look at the frame rate. I mean, it's pushing 60. That's pretty good. So I'm pretty impressed with this from an emulation standpoint. Now the Valve Steam Deck, what's the price on that? Just as a comparative. Because this is an Android device, in case you're wondering. So the Steam Deck, cost-wise, yeah, I see where you're coming from. So if you were looking at the 64 gigabyte Steam Deck, it comes in at $399, and that's running with a PC processor. You know, it's when you get into the higher end ones, you're spending a little bit more. I forgot that the 512 is priced as aggressively as it is, because that's pretty aggressive at $649. Now that I look at that, so there might be some benefit to waiting, actually, if that's your gig there, right? Because this is certainly not going to perform as well as that. Can you upscale to 1080 720? Let's take a look and see. So we have to get out of the game to do that. So let's go and hit this button and exit emulation. So let's go into graphics settings. So OpenGL is what it's running at. And this is one problem with the camera, is that it blocks some things, so you can't always see everything. I don't know if you can turn up the graphics mode more than it is. Oh, sorry, you can. Internal resolution. So let's go to, right, so right now it's 1x. So if we go to, let's try to go to 1080p and see what happens. And where is my download? Oh, it did everything. Okay, so we have some new games we can try out. So let's refresh this. And why don't we do Wave Race real quick? And this is going to be Wave Race at, yeah, so this is like, it's not doing that well at 1080. So 1080 is probably not going to be recommended. It's about 40 frames per second right now, just loading up the thing. I can hear the sound, listen to the sound. It's like, it's like really struggling to keep up. So this will be something where I think let's go back down to 720p, see if we can squeeze a little more resolution out of it. So 1080p is probably not going to be in the cards. And Wave Race is typically like the not so difficult game to run on this thing. So why don't we go down to 720p. And see what happens here. Yeah, that runs better. So we're pretty close to 60 now. But you can see it's definitely moving around a bit. So 1x is probably your best bet. And Eric says this literally has, I bet you that there's probably some, the commodity market for displays is, I wouldn't be surprised if it isn't the same display. It's probably the same one. We'll try some other games in a minute here. So I'll just do a quick time attack here. Yeah, it's definitely sluggish a little bit, although one thing with Dolphin is that you have to run the game and then come back and run it again the first time, because it builds its shader menu on the fly. So this is going to dog a little bit, and then it'll improve. So let's do it first, see what kind of performance we get at 720p, and then go from there. But it's something where you probably want to go lower with. And we will change, Peter's wondering if we change it to Vulkan, if it'll perform better. So we'll try that too. Now this game, if I'm not mistaken, typically maxes out at 30. So we see how it just sped up there? So I think we might see, as the shaders get written, it might speed up a little bit. maybe on the second lap it'll improve. We'll see. And we'll also try Vulkan and see if that makes a difference. By the way, there is rumble on this. I'm feeling it. Yeah, so it goes to like full speed and then it kind of slows down again. But I think that might be due to the shader thing. So we'll see what happens when it comes around. Woo! Yeah, so it's definitely dogging a bit here. All right, so let's try it with let's try it with Vulkan next and see how that does. So we'll quit emulation. And then we'll try this with Vulkan as its renderer and see if that makes any difference. So video backend, we'll switch to Vulkan. We'll see if it supports Vulkan. I'm guessing it probably will. Try this one more time. And Ryan D says the flickering is probably due to the auto. Yeah, I think I did have that setting in there, so we'll adjust that too. Yeah, so it does seem to be rendering better with Vulkan. Oops, let me go back one notch here. And let's see if that option to so this one I'm going to force to 4:3, just because that's what this game plays at. There's no widescreen option on this game. Yeah, it's dogging a little bit here too. I'm thinking like, yeah, actually it's running. Yeah, it's running pretty slow. Actually, Vulkan did not improve it. I thought it would. It's actually running slower with Vulkan than it was with OpenGL. Let's give it another second and see if after it does its shader thing again, if that might improve things. But Vulkan is definitely running slower here, as you can see. But I will say it's nice to get clickable sticks again. Okay, so this is like almost unplayable. Sorry, so let's go back. I want to reset everything and just go back to like the basics just to see what that will do. So we're going to go back to graphics here. I'm going to switch it back to OpenGL. And I'm going to go to the internal resolution back to 1x. We'll see if that makes any difference. Got a super chat from Josiah. Thank you very much for your super chat. May you live long and prosper as well. Jim says, good for slow motion gaming. Yeah, I've got a few more things to play around with on this. I'll definitely check the shaders again and stuff. But it seems like the 1x mode is probably the mode you'll want to run this in. And I'll try like a few other games on it too. And if I'm not mistaken, again, this game I think runs typically at 30 FPS on a TV. Yes, this is running around 30. Yeah, it's a little sluggish. But this is kind of the sweet spot. It looks like OpenGL and 1x. And you know, on a screen this small, it's not, I don't think you notice the graphical enhancements to begin with at a higher resolution. But this is definitely more playable. And I will adjust before I make a final judgment on this, offline I will try with pre-compile its shaders and see how it does. And we'll do that. You know what we'll do that with is, yeah, so now I'm coming around in the second run here. It's still a little laggy. Oh, missed that one. Yeah, see it's slowing down right when we come back around that corner there. Yeah, so not perfect here with Dolphin. So why don't we go and do that pre-compile thing and just see if that makes any difference, and then we'll go to a different game, or a different system too. So let's go to graphics settings. So shader compilation mode. Well, compile shaders before starting. Here we go. Have it on specialized by default. So let's see if that improves anything. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's going to make much of a difference. So it might be that GameCube is kind of pushing it. I got to look and see what some other people have experienced with this. So I know ETA Prime reviewed this already, so I need to check his results and see. So the homework says Dolphin MMJR. What is that? See how out of the loop I've been lately on this stuff? Dolphin MMJR. Let's see what that's all about. Aimed at pure performance. All right, I'm going to try that one out later. Yeah, I'll work a little bit more on the Dolphin stuff and see if I can squeeze some more performance out of this. What happens a lot of times with these processors that are just on the edge is that you've really got to tweak it a lot to get it to where you want it to be. And thank you for the super chat, Eric. Much appreciated. He says, hopefully that buys better coffee, or it'll buy 1.5 coffees that we got at the at the convention center. And nobody says, is this new or something? Yes, this is brand new. It is not even out yet. It's out like next week. Yeah, it's still running at about the same clip here, so it's a little laggy. It's not smooth with this game at least. And this is a game that typically, like if GameCube is going to work well, it's going to be this game. So there you go. All right, let's try some streaming real quick. Remember, we're having some trouble with the Wi-Fi too, so I'm curious what's going on with my Wi-Fi. I'm going to connect and reconnect. And actually, you know what I'm going to try? I'm going to download a speed test, the speed test app, and see if what happens when I run that. Ooh, brutal headline. Brutal headline. Jim Masters says, then just wait for the Steam Deck. You know, I'm glad you're all bringing this up because for whatever reason, in my head, I thought the Steam Deck was more expensive, but it isn't. So yeah, the price point here is going to be a bit difficult, I think, right? Because all right, hang on 1 second. All right, so I'm going to run a speed test on this thing and see what we get here. So I want to make sure the Wi-Fi is working okay. See, see the Wi-Fi speed. So I have a gigabit connection, and the most it's getting here is like 40 megabits per second. That's on the downstream. So that's why it was so slow in transferring. And it's doing about the same. So I have a symmetrical connection here. So it's doing about 40 or 50 down, 50 up. And the Wi-Fi access point is right there. So by comparison, if I ran my iPhone on that same access point right now, let me show you. And that's with a live stream going. So I run my iPhone on it. Ready? Same access point. Now, this is Wi-Fi 6, mind you. Oh, wait, that's getting the same. What the heck's going on? Wait a minute. I wonder if my Wi-Fi access point is acting up. That might be the problem. That's all I'm getting? What is going on here? Well, it's not the device's problem. This is what we do when we troubleshoot. It's like, what's the cause? This one should be doing about 800 megabits per second downstream right now, just so you know. So now I'm wondering if I have an internet problem or my Wi-Fi access point over there is not working properly. All of which means that game streaming has to take a back seat for a second until we figure out why the Wi-Fi is so lousy right now. All right, so hang on one second, folks. Here I was like, hey, look at the iPhone. Look how much faster it is. Well, guess what? It's doing the same thing. So I wonder, actually, if I take this off the Wi-Fi, if that might be contributing. So I'm going to turn this Wi-Fi off real quick. Because there was that firmware update available for that Wi-Fi access point. And I found, too, with this Unify stuff, sometimes like some devices just like do something to it. Like it just doesn't work right. Yeah, so my Unify now is all screwed up. Bear with me, folks. Let me log back in and see if I can get into it. My internet's still up because I'm still talking to you, so that's good. Yeah, so we don't have internet trouble here, so the internet is working fine. And I'm just going to dive into my... You know what I might do? Whoa, what's this thing doing? You know what? This thing is uplinking through... It should not be doing that. That is so weird. So it looks like it lost its Ethernet connection. Bear with me for 1 second, folks. I've got to check out something in the back room over here. The access point, this is why it's so slow. The access point is not connecting over Ethernet. So I am going to disconnect it for a second, if I can figure out where it's coming into. There it is. Now it's blinking like it's got a signal. That's not it. Hang on a second. Wait a minute here. There it is. It's that one. Yeah, so I'm just going to unplug this and plug it back in. It is connected, but it's like, for some reason, it thinks it's not. So I'm going to reboot it. Okay, so let's see if that makes a difference here. Yeah, that's weird. So what it was doing, everybody, is the access point in the ceiling. This is all about the troubleshooting. For whatever reason, it was not backhauling into my network over Ethernet. And I suspect what has occurred here, this is like inside baseball of my home network. So I have, the way my network is configured, I've got what's called a distribution switch. By the way, I used to have one switch in this house. And then when I got the faster connection, I had to get all this extra stuff. So now I've got a 10 gig switch that sits in the middle of everything. And that thing had a firmware update the other day. And I bet you that when it went down to update, that the Wi-Fi there decided, because it lost its Ethernet connection through the distribution switch, it connected to the Wi-Fi on the other side of the room to keep its network going. Because when I just checked it on my list of devices here, it was showing me that it was running itself through a wireless uplink and not over Ethernet. That is crazy. So why did it do that? Who knows? But the Wi-Fi is definitely down, so it's rebooting. This Wi-Fi. My other Wi-Fis are on, but they're too far away apparently for this thing to get connected. So hang on a second. Yeah, so on my Mac here, which is just on the Ethernet, I'm getting my full, yeah, I'm getting my, well, even this is running a little on the slower side of things. Yeah, you know, nothing ever just like works consistently around here. Like everything like breaks down at some point. All right, let's see what's going on here. So I am back on the Wi-Fi, I think. At least this is still transmitting, so I know I'm still on YouTube, so that's good. At least I hope I am. Let's see. Oh, no. Yeah, we're back. Okay. Prime wants to know, thank you for the super chat, by the way, as I'm struggling with internet or networking problems here. Yeah, everything is falling apart right now behind the scenes in the home network. Oh, geez. So you know what happened now? The switch that the Wi-Fi is connected to is rebooting. It says it's getting ready. I don't like it saying it's getting ready. Good Lord. All right, give it a minute here, folks. Yeah, this is not a networking this is an internal network problem. So here's the thing, and I've talked about this before. The Unify gear is great until it isn't. And every once in a while, you get these weird issues that pop up. So, all right, now it looks like everybody's back up. So now let's go to, there we go. It still says it's uplinking though. Hang on, let me take a look and see what I've got here on my, yeah, it's still doing it. Okay, so we gotta figure this out. So now I wonder if, hang on a second, everybody. We got to figure this out. I am going to have to update the firmware on this Wi-Fi right now because it is still insisting on uplinking wirelessly as opposed to over the network. And my suspicion here is that it is doing this because perhaps the firmware update that it is due to get, which I didn't run, that might be what it is. So this is my issue with this Unify stuff. I like this stuff a lot, except the fact that these firmware updates do weird things like what you're seeing right now. So we're going to, I rebooted it already, it didn't work. It came back up and did the same thing. And then in the course of this, the switch that I am using for that device rebooted. So give us a second here, we'll get this worked out. But day in the life of my channel. The good thing is that I hardwired, so this computer is hardwired into the distribution switch. So this is like, you know, this is on a whole separate part of the network. So what I've got is I have a big old gigabit switch that has all my TV boxes and the things that don't need like really solid connections, right? And then I have a PoE switch that is driving that access point. And so for whatever reason, I need to check, I need to check the connectivity because the switch, all the switches are showing up as being connected to each other. So I don't know what's going on, but that thing is blinking now, which means that it's working out its issues. And what I could do in the interim is plug in Ethernet into this sucker and see if we can get it on Ethernet. It might be a good way to test its USB-C port while we're waiting here. But I definitely want to test its Wi-Fi prowess because we want to know if it's capable of good game streaming. But I've got like an Ethernet adapter here that we can plug in and just see if it works with that. Yeah, it looks like it comes up. So let's take a look and see, now that we have a Ethernet adapter on here, how that functions. All right, so I'm going to run this again. Well, the Ethernet is lighting up, but it's not actually connecting. So let me see if it even shows up as an Ethernet device here. Yeah, does not seem to support Ethernet through that USB-C. Okay, so let's wait a second on that. And there's always something that glitches out when we do a live stream, so this is kind of par for the course. Okay, so you know what our problem here is that the PoE switch is acting up, because right now that PoE switch is offline completely. So I'm going to need to go check that and reboot it. It won't impact the stream because we're on a different part of the network. So for whatever reason, the PoE switch is our problem here. So I am looking at it right now, and I'm just going to restart the PoE switch. And this is connected via a fiber cable to my distribution switch, which is on port 12. And that port is not lit, but I think we are just rebooting right now, so that might be why. So it could even be a problem with my SFP connector. It's going from one to the other. So let this come back up here and see what happens. So then we'll be as good as new. Everything will be rebooted. Although I wonder if I was doing a firmware update, hopefully it didn't cut power to my luck. Ugh. Yep, so we may have to cut this one short, everybody. I may have a bigger network problem on my hands, but we'll find out in a minute. So there you go. Yeah, so for whatever reason that, the good news is the firmware update was not interrupted by the reboot. But my port, my system here that I have, and I have to run that access point through it because that thing needs that to work because it's power over Ethernet. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, no, we can reset. So basically what happens is that I have the distribution switch. And so what I do is I have everything kind of go into that. So the router goes into the distribution switch. The other switches go into the distribution switch. So I'm kind of like in an area where anything that is like that I can sit. Now, granted, mission critical for me has no impact on the rest of the world. But as far as I'm concerned, like the computer that's doing the stream right now is like mission critical. So anything that's super mission critical gets plugged in directly to the distribution switch. And all the other stuff goes into different switches. So the stream will be the last thing to go down, provided like the router stays up. So the router goes into the distribution switch. This computer goes into the distribution switch, and that's why this is still working. But what we're doing right now is we are rebooting the switch. And in the course of rebooting the switch, it reboots the wireless access point because that switch powers the access point. So as soon as everything comes back up, we can do a proper Wi-Fi check before we do the game streaming. And this is actually a good opportunity to talk about Wi-Fi and game streaming because in order to get the best performance when you are game streaming, in other words, playing a game using a live streaming service for gaming, you often need a very good and stable, which I don't have right now, Wi-Fi connection. So if we had tried this earlier, it would not have looked very good. And here's the problem. Okay, so it looks like the issue here might lie in the connection between this switch and this has been a stable connection the whole time, but for some reason, it just is not working at the moment. Yeah, it's just not lighting up. And this is going in with like fiber optics between the two. And I haven't touched this cable. I have not done a thing to it. So we may have to reboot the distribution switch. This stopped working, it looks like, when the distribution switch ran a firmware update. So I wonder if I need to pull the module out and reinsert it here. And these modules do not come out easy. They make it really hard. So I may have to actually cut the stream short here and reboot the There we go. I'm just going to move it to a different position. I've never had one of these SFP connectors go down on me. Shoot. All right, so bear with me, folks. I'm just going to switch it into a different slot on the back of the switch here and see if that makes any difference. All right, so I'm going to plug these guys in again. So we'll be back up again shortly, everybody, as soon as I figure out what's going on here. All right, so now I'm in port 11, and that has lit up. All right, so I think we're connecting again. So let's see. Well, that was odd. And here's like the point that I made also, is that this is what happens with this Unify stuff. It works great, and then they push down a firmware update, and it just stops working. So what appears to have happened here is that when my distribution switch ran its firmware update, the module that the second switch was plugged into, so there was a module fiber optic going from one to the other, the module just stopped working. So maybe if I rebooted the distribution switch again, it might work. So what I did is I moved the module into a different port. And now it appears as though, if we check my thing here, so I may have to reboot the wireless again, we'll see. And let's see what happens now. But that's why it was running so slow, because what it's doing right now is it's running, yeah, it's still slow. It's running the data through another wireless access point. So the one thing these Unify things do is they have a failover. So if your direct Ethernet connection goes down, it'll fail over it, to something else. So we're going to have to reboot this one more time, and that might resolve the issue. So let's see what happens. Jim Masterson loves just hanging out in general. That's cool. I wish I could show you what I have in that room right now, but it's such a mess, I'm embarrassed to show it to you. But it could be heat related too, as was noted. All right, so let me go and look at, yeah, so the uplink here is still showing as going through in our Wi-Fi signal connection here. I'm not sure when this happened. My guess is that it occurred in relation to the firmware update that went down. I never have trouble with this Unify stuff until they update themselves, and then everything goes to you-know-what. All right, so I'm going to reboot this one more time. And it actually explains a lot today, because there were some oddities going on with this today. And if not, it may have a bad module that might need to get swapped out. I've got an extra one, so that should be okay. So let's restart this one more time. And hopefully, after this restart, we'll be good. How are you all doing? This is like this is Eric makes a good point here. Being the only one in my house who understands how the network in my house works, the scariest thing I could hear. Yes. And I'll get that from the children and from my wife. Like, it's not working. Like, I know it's not working. I got to figure out what's going on. Because there was one instance a few weeks ago where the distribution switch completely just shut down. Like, there was no rhyme or reason to it. It just went out. And that was it. But now it looks like I've got a healthy connection here. So Russell says, can I choose a different channel? No. And the reason is that it's all on the same access point here. So I'm in my basement. So I have an access point here. For some reason, that one can pick up the one that's a little further down. So there's one, a floor up that way that it's able to connect to. So that works. But what we want to be able to demo here is game streaming. And so to get the best performance, you want to be on an AC Wi-Fi connection. All right, here we go. We rebooted. Yeah, now we're better. We're better. I should be getting better than this, but it's better than what it was. So now I'm doing like 300, but I should be, this phone should be doing better on that Wi-Fi because this is Wi-Fi 6. But that is an improvement. So I'm still having some connectivity issues here, but that's better than it was. Okay, so we're getting there. And let me just verify that we are in better shape. All this to play games, right? Yes, okay, so now you'll see that it's reporting the uplink here as going through the PoE. Before it was uplinking through something else. So that's good. So one last thing to troubleshoot, and that is the connection on that port. And yep, we've got gigabit now, so we're in a better shape. Okay, so now that's good. So let's go back to the GPD here. And if this happens again, it actually could be the Wi-Fi on this causing it. I've seen this happen before where a weird Wi-Fi device will cause all sorts of weird stuff to happen. So I think we're in better shape now. So let's go back and run that speed test again, just to see what we get. And we should have a much better connection now. And I'm just going to, yeah, so now I don't expect this to run as well as that iPhone does, but that's much better than we had before. So this will run a game a lot better. So there we go. Okay, that's more of what I was expecting out of the Wi-Fi that's on this one. Okay, so pick your poison, everybody. We could do NVIDIA Game Stream. We can do, I was thinking we start with Xbox. I think the Game Pass stuff is like what a lot of people are going to want to play around with. So let's try that real quick. And I've got probably another 15 minutes before everybody comes home. So there you go. And I want to make sure I don't ignore my friends on Amazon. So let's go back to Amazon. Okay, looks like we're good there. We still have some people watching, so that's a good thing. And let's go return to the live stream. There we go. Okay. And Josiah joined us on Amazon while we were troubleshooting. So I'm going to download the Xbox app. I am pretty sure that the Xbox app is how you play your game stream stuff. And Game Pass Ultimate has been such a great thing. I have really been enjoying Game Pass Ultimate. All right, so I got to sign in. Bear with me, everybody. And I got to look that up real quick. And let's go and look up my Microsoft thing here. 1 second. Just got to log back in. What is going on with this? Hang on a second. Okay. Sometimes you got to troubleshoot stuff. But you see what happens with these things? Like, and I've been using that access point, or my wife has been using that access point. Nobody's complaining in the house about it, but it was not working right. Now it is, sort of. Usually I get 700 or 800 megabits per second out of that one, so I'm going to keep tweaking that. I got to figure out what's going on with it. So I wonder if there's something wrong with that module that's interconnecting the two things. Because at most I'm pushing 300, and on that access point I should be getting like 700, 600. So I'm just wondering if there's something else going on with that. But I'll deal with that later. So bear with me, everybody. The good news is that the ping rate is low. The ping was low even when it was hopping, right? So that's kind of interesting. So that was funny to see that. All right, so now I got to enter my authenticator code here. But it's crazy, like no matter what, stuff like you're always struggling to keep things working, even in the 21st century. And I think part of the problem is that it fails over so well, you don't know it's not working until you like wonder why your files are copying so slowly, right? So it becomes one of those things. All right, let's go. Let's get you set up. Da-da-da. Not now, not now. Nope. Okay, so let's go over to home screen. Now, I'm a Game Pass member. Should I not see? Is Game Pass on Android different? There it is. Get recommended from Game Pass. So if I go to Library, I'll go to Games. It's all just kind of integrated now, I guess, huh? There we go, Game Pass. Okay. So I want to try Forza Horizon 5. That's the new one. Is there any kind of order to this? There it looks like it's alphabetical. Okay, so let's go down to, here we go, Forza Horizon 5. I want to play this one, so I'm going to click on that one. Oh, I can't stream it? What's going on here? Maybe it is a separate app. I thought it was all integrated into the Xbox app, but I'm probably wrong about that. Well, hopefully it'll stay logged in. Xbox. Yeah, it is a separate thing. Okay, let's try that one now. If I was watching the chat, you probably all told me that it is. Jason's wondering if there's any big bends in the fiber run. No, it's a very short run. It's just a little patch cable. And I did check that. No, the module itself was like just not connecting, so I moved it to a different port. And I have a feeling that when that switch rebooted after its firmware update, it just didn't cycle the port. I think they actually added more configuration options for the ports too, so there's, who knows. I gotta go now spend like more time dealing with that. All right, so I'm a member, I'm going to sign in. Yes. All right, I'm signing into Game Pass. There we go. Okay. Let's go. So let's go to, geez. Okay, so let's go over to Cloud. Oops. All right, so we're going to go to Cloud, and I want to play me some Forza Horizon 5. This is what I love about Game Pass, is that you can stream cloud stuff now on the console before you download it. So Forza Horizon 5 is like a huge download. So you can just kind of play it and see if you dig it. Oh, it's not out yet. It's today's 9th. I should be able to play it. There we go. Okay, install on day 1. So I can just boot it up. At least I should be able to. All right. Well, we survived a firmware update and a network issue. So let's see if the controls here map out, and it should. Now you're going to notice once again that we've got a lot of, looks great though, doesn't it? And that's streaming from now, what's cool is that I haven't started this game at all. Nicknames. I have to pick a nickname. How about Abraham Lincoln? Okay, I'm going to call myself Abraham Lincoln. Gigafi wants to know if I tried Steam Link yet. No, we're first getting going here, so we're going to give it a go with Forza 5. This is Xbox Game Pass Ultimate that we're running on this one. And this is a cutscene, I believe, although it's hard to tell the difference these days on some of these games. I will say this, the speakers are a bit tinny on it. But the stream looks pretty good on this. Now, I don't know what bit rate we're running at here. Let's see. Now, typically the Game Pass streams are pretty low key. So right now, for example, I am pushing down about 3 megabits. So usually these run at like 2.5 megabits to 3 megabits. So it's not the highest quality streaming service, but it generally is designed to run on phones at a lower resolution. So that's part of it. But I really like the Game Pass service because it has games that I don't own or I get through the subscription, so I'm able to do a lot more. All right, so we're going to jump. I guess they're dropping my car off a plane here. How about that? Is that a Bronco? That's the new Bronco. Drop it like it's hot. All right, here we go. So press right trigger to accelerate. It feels pretty good. You always get more lag, of course, with this than you would on a local game, but it looks good. Let me start recording here. At least get some useful B-roll for my efforts here. Oh, ooh, just hit a rock. This might be the way I play my Xbox streaming games, because I was using my iPhone with that Backbone controller, but it's not as nice as this feels. And the controls are much, like compared to a Joy-Con on a Switch, it is much better. Should I pass them on the inside? Let's see, there we go. This looks great, this game, doesn't it? This just came out today, right, everybody? But if you have Game Pass, you just download it. It's yours. It's crazy. I might get into this game because I love the graphics of Forza 4, and I just never really got into it that much. Oh, we're like transitioning to some other thing here. Cool. That's the plane they just pushed me out of. Yeah, I'm going to turn the volume down here. Now that we're getting a sports car here. So definitely a winner with Game Pass for sure. The controls are great on this. Yeah, the streaming is consistent. Now it's AC Wi-Fi. It's not Wi-Fi 6. You can rewind too. Look at that. That's a perfect feature for me. Cool. All right, I think I had enough footage on that one. Okay, so that's good. So now let's try GeForce Now before my kids come home. So 201, this is Xbox Game Pass. But this might be a good use case for this, to be honest with you. because Game Pass is really good on this stuff. Hey, Handheld Obsession is here. I had a nice talk with Handheld along with Eric I had a little table set up at Retro World Expo. They give you a little table there. All right, so let's go out of this game. Now the question is, which button is the Xbox button on this? Let's see, maybe it's this one? No. So it's a picture-in-picture, that's pretty neat. Maybe it's, oh, it just went to something here. Oh, maybe it's this one here. Yes, nope, that's the on-screen. Oh, look at that, you have on-screen. So that's another thing I got to mess around with is this button. I didn't even notice that button until just now. Okay, so let's see. This one does that. So we don't want to do that. So maybe it's this one. Yes, I don't know what maps to the Xbox button, so I'll have to explore that a little bit. Because typically on Game Pass, you can do that. All right, one last thing to check out before I call it a day is I want to check on GeForce Now, because that is something I have access to. So let me load that up real quick. So let's go over to the App Store. But Game Pass is great. I love Game Pass. I think it's the best, the best value, especially for somebody like me, because I don't have the time that I used to have. So I'm just not buying a lot of games because I don't have time to make use of that investment. So Game Pass is really kind of fun. Now, another neat thing about this, in case you're just tuning in, this side detaches. So you can pull this off. You can put this thing on it, and it attaches magnetically. So if you have a game that uses a lot of touchscreen, but you want to use the stick, you can do that. And then they've got this thing, which I think they say is for some of the first-person shooters. So you got like these other, I have to figure out exactly what this one is for. But it's got like a button down here. Maybe this is for the MOBAs or something, but yeah, you can just swap out these controllers at will, which is pretty cool. All right, so let's go back out to our thing here, and I think it's going to put itself under apps. So GeForce Now. I got to log into yet another thing. So let me make my attachment there. This will take me a second here, everybody, because I've got to do another two-factor authentication, probably times 2 here. I two-factor everything. So be aware of that. And I did not just type in a password, so if you're trying to decipher one, do not worry. But I think, game streaming might be the use case here. All right, so let me go over to here, and I need to tap yes on that. Okay. There we go. And now I've got to go to my other. So what's funny is that I have a two-factor on my Gmail, which gets me into this, and then I've got another two-factor on the NVIDIA thing itself because I was sick of it asking me for something. It's a long story. All right, so now I've got to just scroll this down, which I can't now see what is on the screen here. Oh, come on now, seriously? I got this big keyboard on here and I can't see everything. Hang on a second. They don't make this easy. Can you rotate for me? There you go. All right. Please enter the code. The code is okay. There we go. Okay, so now we're logging in. And now that I'm logged in, I can play GeForce Now. Okay, so now we are in GeForce Now. Now, GeForce Now is a little different because you'll see all these games, but if you don't own the game, you can't play the game. So even though I've got all these games that it lists here, like these are not all games that I'm able to play because I don't have it in my Steam library. So what I am going to do is update my Steam account. So it'll link up to my Steam account and sync up all the games that I have in the library, and then I can, and then the other problem is, with GeForce Now, is that the developers got into this thing with Steam, and so they all have now decided that not everybody's going to let their games be playable through GeForce Now, even though you bought the game. Just how it goes. So long story there. Jared wants to know, how is it for emulation? And it's pretty good. We were just playing the Dolphin emulator. I've got some more work to do on that, but it wasn't bad. So let me just do like a little No Man's Sky or something just to see how it looks. Is that no longer playable on here? There it is in library. Okay. All right. So let's see how this runs. Now my network. This one's going to be a little more demanding than the Microsoft one because this is running with a higher bit rate. But I have worked out my network bottlenecks here, for at least for the time being. Prime has been asking me this question. I'm sorry for missing it earlier. I do not know if I'm going to be doing that. I need to see if Amazon is doing something with that this year. If they are, I will do so, hopefully. Unfortunately, right now, the way things are going, it may not be all that much available. All right. And it's asking to record, log into my Steam account now. It's asking to record audio because you can use the microphone for multiplayer games. So that's why it wants the audio there. So one more login. So now we've now logged into 3 things, but that's how GeForce Now works. I think it's kind of an endearing component to how it comes together. All right. So now we can take a look at GeForce Now and see how that works. And the bit rate on this is much higher. So the bit rate is, we'll see what happens when the game actually starts going here. We'll let you know what it's coming back at. But the controls seem to work just fine. Although the button's not working. This happened before, and it's not just with this. It was like, yeah, so the sticks are moving here. This happened once before with this, and I can't remember what I did to fix it. Yes, this is not even a GeForce. This is a GeForce Now problem. All right, so now we've got to quit the game. That's how we fix this problem. I've seen this happen before. The challenge, though, is how does one get out of what I just found myself into here? There we go. Okay, so what we're going to do is we have to quit the game and then go back into it, and then it works. This happens with GeForce Now. But you can see the difference too, like whereas Microsoft with their cloud streaming, like those games are made specifically, you know, they do some changes to the code to make it work specifically. And this one can be a little bit different. Okay. And we've got some new followers on Amazon. So Justin Noblet and Jason Tatlock, thank you for following. And we're going to let this load up. And right now we're doing a little GeForce Now. And I've been charging this thing all along here to give us a little more juice. So once this loads up, this should start working. Random Fandom just started following. Thank you for that follow. All right, take 2. You see how problematic everything is? George says, yeah, I don't know how much NVIDIA really wants to put into this thing, right? But they would have some. So, and actually, I did a video about this a while ago. What was interesting was that even before GeForce Now was a thing, the developers had put into their terms of service that you could not stream the game as a user. But that was in the EULA. But as was pointed out, if you subscribe to Shadow, or even if you're on Amazon AWS, you can install your own PC in the cloud and run these games in the cloud. So it's interesting. Londog wants to know, why are they using the term XP in describing this one? That's a good question, because the old one was the XD, and then we had the XD Plus, and now we've got the XP. And Prime, I apologize also for missing your super chat earlier. So I am very sorry that I did not see that before. But we will, and if you want, I can refund that, because I feel bad that I saw you asking that question, and I was just getting distracted by all my networking problems. Let me pull you back up again. Oh, hang on, I get into my ship here. Where did my ship go? Here it is. Yeah, so GeForce Now has a higher bit rate. Yeah, it runs real nice. This is a 60 hertz display, by the way. And again, we're streaming this game. This is not running locally on it. But maybe what we'll do is we'll point ourselves at that planet over there and take a little spin there. Let me put up Prime's question here, because he asked this earlier, and I totally missed this, and I really apologize for not answering this earlier. But just to reiterate, I will try to do something. If you see, by the way, for anyone watching, if you see a lot of interesting $50 or under things, I've got a, and I'm not, let me see if I can find it. Yeah, Lon.TV/suggest is the link. So that's a form that I set up. And if you have things that are in that price category you'd like me to check out, definitely let me know. Well, GeForce Now feels like a great streaming experience on this thing. This is really good, actually. Here, I'm going to start recording this a little bit. This is GeForce Now. What's nice is these controls are mapping properly on everything we've tested, so it just shows up like an Xbox controller. We'll set her down over here. Yeah, looks pretty good to me. So provided you got good Wi-Fi as a game streaming solution, this is nice. What I really like about it so far is the control sticks. They have a good amount of travel to them, but not too much. They click very, very nicely. And my understanding is that they are easy to work on as well. You can just pop them right out like that to clean it, I think. Hopefully I didn't break it. Yeah, it just pops right back in there. Yep, that's it. Just pop right out. I'm going to explore that a little bit more, but it still works. So it looks great. And then you can tap on the screen here, I think, to get your controls back up. Let's see. There we are. Here we go. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, from a game streaming perspective, this feels pretty good. And we tried both GeForce Now and Game Pass, and both of those felt like a pretty good experience. All right, so we are back up here. Let me just go back to my chat window here. So the question is, how much does this go for? And actually, what was interesting, so this is selling for about $370 to $400 right now. So the price point is about where the Steam Deck's going to come in at. So, you know, the price is a little higher than I would have liked. The build quality feels solid, though. So the GPD XD Plus, by comparison, has always been... I thought this would be more in line with that price point, which was like in the $200-ish range. And this one is running you much more than that. So I'm hoping they can get the price down, because the specs on this are not ridiculous. So Random Fandom says at $400, the price seems steep considering you can get the base version of the Steam Deck. Exactly. So that is one argument. Another argument in favor, I think, is going to be the battery life on this, because it will go longer, even streaming games, than the Steam Deck will. But, you know, that's something to think about. So in the chat on Amazon, there was a question on specs, and I can't pin chats on Amazon, but I will tell you what they are. Unless I can copy this one. Let's see. Oh, I can copy a message. I'll just reiterate the message here. Oops. It goes away when I do that. MediaTek Helio G95, 8-core, 6 gigs of RAM, 128 gigabytes of storage. So in our benchmarking, we found that it is close to what we would see with an NVIDIA Shield K1 tablet. Not the TV unit, but the tablet version. So I've got maybe another 5 or 10 minutes before my wife comes home. Maybe we can try like a little Dreamcast thing. What's the best Dreamcast emulator now, everybody? Why don't you tell me in the chat, and we'll take a look at that. And then, by the way, in case you're tuning in also, this comes off. So you can use it without any controller on the side. You can just stick this on. So if you have a game like, I think they have Call of Duty Mobile actually pre-installed on here. So if you have a game like Call of Duty Mobile, or something where you want to use the screen and the stick separate, like together, you can do that. And they also have this weird controller that gives you kind of like a fire button. I don't know what this is used for. This might be like a MOBA thing. Is that right? All right, so everyone says Redream. So I'm going to grab Redream. So we're going to do that, and then I got to call it quits before my wife comes home. See what happens? I play games and I get into trouble. Okay, so we're going to go for Redream. Is that in the Play Store, or do I got to do that through a side load or something? Redream. Here it is. This is it. Redream. Play your favorite Dreamcast games in high definition. So we'll pop that in. And Eric says that pinning chats is the whole reason why I bought vMix. Now, I guess you could do this with OBS. All right, let me let this load up here. Okay, we'll just let that finish up here. Okay. So now, oh, play games in high definition. What does premium do? I'm going to continue in light mode. What does that premium version do? Well, by upgrading. So I can continue in light mode for now. All right, so why don't we... I need to install a Dreamcast game on here before I do anything. So let me go back and do that real quick. So let me go to my my NAS and go to my Dreamcast folder. What should I play? I don't have every game there is. Why don't we do one that never came out? Let's do Propeller Arena. I love that game. All right, let's see. The Dreamcast to me is a tragedy, because that system is so, like, there was very few bad games for the Dreamcast. And Handheld says play Revolt. Okay, I'll have to get that one. I don't think I have that ISO. But I will test that offline. Okay, so we've got that downloaded, and I will go back to Redream here. And let's add my downloads directory. All right, so I'm going to do Propeller Arena real quick. Now, I am not on the premium version, which I probably should do. I guess, though, it would be good to just see how this works. Frame rate counter, we're going to turn that on. Okay, so let's try this real quick. I've never used Redream before, so I'm going to rely on all of you experts to tell me how I'm doing here. So Eric was watching some kids play the Dreamcast for the first time at Retro World Expo. That's awesome. Oops. Yes, okay, there we go. Creating a thing here. So now this game of interest here, this game is called Propeller Arena. It was a Dreamcast game that was never released. Propeller Arena, Aviation Battle Championship. Let's do a quick battle here. And I gotta push start. There we go. Wow, the controls are mapped already, which is great. This feels like it's running super fast, and it is. Oh my gosh, it's running at like 200 frames per second. And this is running on the, I have no sound. Oops. Oops, wrong button. I'm getting my buttons confused here. Now, how do we get out of a game on this emulator? Because it is running like 100 and something frames per second. It's like too fast. Normally, that's not a bad thing for it to be too fast, but it's too fast. And there's no sound. And I'm not sure if that's a function. Oh, here we go. All right, so this is a really nice emulator. So I guess I should turn VSync on, and that might do it. Yeah, it's better. Oh, okay, no, it's still running too fast. So it's running like 136 frames per second. That's not how it should be running. And the screen has some curve to it, so sometimes you miss some of the controls that might be on there. So let me go to the system settings here and see if we can adjust something here. Input. So the input's been fine. The input mapped all automatically. I just don't have any sound for some reason. And now what happened here? Let's see. Let's just reboot it. So Gene on the Amazon chat says the Steam Deck is 400. Yeah, so I guess, you know, the big difference here, I think, between this and the Steam Deck, of course, is that the Steam Deck will have greater capabilities for the price point, However, this is available now, I guess. I would have preferred this come in around the price of the old one. So the old one is this one here. This is the one that I looked at, geez, a long time ago now. And I love this little device. Not as fast, not as capable, but these were about $200 to $250, which I thought was very reasonable for an Android device of this caliber. I almost wonder if they overshot by putting such a nice display on it, and if they could have come up with a more reasonable price tag given where the Steam Deck is going to come in. So that's going to be one thing we'll have to look at over time, is whether or not they go on at a lower price scale. And of course, the emulating on a PC is going to be much better, right? So what's the cost to upgrade? $6. Maybe I'll do that later. Okay, let's go into light mode again. I'm just going to copy over some more games. Oops, let me go back to my thing here. So I'll do Virtua Tennis real quick. Yeah, cancel. So let me copy over Virtua Tennis and see how that runs. Because that's one where you'll see, especially in its cutscenes, how that goes. And then I've got, let's see what else. Oh, Daytona USA. That might be a fun one to try. That one looks like it's got, oops. I'm going to copy the whole folder over. Not sure if that one's going to work the way it's configured. All right, we're almost there. Give me 1 second here. David Allen says, I'm on iTunes chat. Don't talk. I don't know what you mean by that. I don't see every chat as they come through. I'm talking to everybody that's chatting with me here. But sometimes it's got to be relevant to the discussion, and sometimes I have to be able to see it. All right, so here we go. And let's go to light mode and Virtua Tennis. Whoa. So this is like maybe Handheld Obsession or somebody with some expertise on this emulator, which is the first time I've ever run this, is that the games are running like ridiculously fast on here, and they shouldn't be. So how do you slow them down? I'm not seeing any spot to adjust those settings. Like it's just going like full bore here. I mean, it's slowing down a little bit during the cutscene here, but it's still like well over 100 frames per second. And David asked, are the kids home yet? The kids are not home yet, but they will be soon. And I got to start cooking dinner. It is Taco Tuesday at the house. And my wife, yeah, this is too fast to be playable, which is not a bad thing, but it's like, there's got to be some way to adjust the speed of this emulator. Is that part of the premium package? Because I don't see any option. I have no sound either handheld. So there's no sound, and it's running like super fast. And if I go into the settings here, there's not much like you can even adjust. Like the video options here are just the game aspect ratio. Frame skip. I guess I could turn it off maybe. I don't know if that's going to make a difference. The frame rate counter, which I had on. Now granted, I'm not using the premium edition, but it's just like super fast. Oh, okay, so how do we slow the game down? That's the question. I might have pressed the turbo button by accident. Where is the turbo button? Tell me which button is the turbo button. Oh, wait, what's this? Wait a second. No, that's not it. Oh, there we go. All right, now I got it. There we go. That's better. So you don't want to hit the select button here. This is a great emulator. This is super good. I haven't played with this one before. I hadn't really looked. You know, what happened was I got one of those. Yeah, I still got it. This is solid. Let me hit a record here, get some B-roll. I might get the premium version of this. It's pretty amazing. And handheld, is this, I'm assuming this runs on the NVIDIA Shield also, right? But this is solid. This is a very solid experience. I'm very impressed with this. Ooh. This is by far my favorite tennis game. I don't know if it's on some of the other more modern platforms, but it's so well executed. Ooh. All right. Some good footage there. All right, so let's see if it got any other games in here yet. Let's see. I did copy over another one. This is an excellent emulator. My goodness, I didn't realize how far along they went with it. I got Daytona on here too. Let's try that. Daytona. And Handheld says that with premium enabled, the scale up is amazing. Even better. Random Fandom says, I like the older design better. The folding design protects the display. Yeah, that's something that Mark Dell on the chat on YouTube mentioned earlier too, that it had kind of a better look to it when you had the ability to protect the display, right? And this I thought was like the perfect little emulator handheld. It was 720p, so it wasn't trying to drive too high of a resolution. All right, look at that. Everything's mapping properly, so it emulates a Xbox controller, so if the app can work with an Xbox controller, it's just going to go for it. All right, let's go do a race real quick. Start your engines. All right, here we go. Woo! I'm not very good at this game. There we go. Gotta hit the. I will say the controls feel. I don't know if it's just this game and how it plays, but I was noticing this with this emulator in particular. But I was noticing this on the other game that it felt like there was a little bit of lag on the control for this. Might be something where I have to adjust some of the sensitivity of the controls, but it looks good. Plays great. Yeah, pretty good. Not bad. Hopefully that footage came out okay. Let me just check that real quick. So make sure that it wasn't getting reflections. All right, here we go. That looks fine. All right, good. That worked. Okay. Well, so David Allen, look, here's the thing, is that I can't see your chats when I'm not looking at the screen where your chats are coming in from. But the answer to your question is that it is in the UK. And I'm trying to give everyone as much time as I can. But there's no, it's not saying I'm going to be able to answer everybody all the time, because I get a lot of chats that come in on here. Did I notice any dead zone issue on this? Not really. You know, I noticed it a lot on the, let me get out of this game real quick. I noticed it a lot on that Razer controller that we looked at. It did have a lot of dead zone because it had a very high travel area. So maybe I'll grab a quick game controller tester app and just get a sense of that so we can see how the sticks travel. But it seems pretty solid overall. The build quality feels good. You know what's neat is that it doesn't flex at all. So a lot of times when you have a device where you can do one of these things, unplug controller components and plug them back in, like there's often a lot of flex to it. But you look how much plastic there is on this. So it really like it docks itself in a way that it just feels super solid. So it's pretty good. So let's see if I can, here, X Gamepad, I think this is what I'm looking for. Something simple. I'll check the DRM level on it also, because that's another thing. Random wants to know, is it made out of metal? No, it is plastic. But it feels like a really heavy plastic. It doesn't feel like a cheap plastic, if that makes sense. And I think I'm going to want to get DRM info on this also, in case people are curious. Because this is an Android device, so you can watch stuff on it. And I'm not sure if I can get into a regular Android launcher on this. I'm guessing it's probably possible to get that. All right, so let's try this real quick. This is kind of a neat little tester app. Yeah, there doesn't appear to be much of a dead zone here. It's the second I move it, you see that? It's like it's responding to just a very slight touch. Snaps back nice too. Yeah, these sticks feel like, there's always like a happy medium between travel and dead zones, and it feels good. Now the question would be, is there a way to adjust it? And that I do not know. So let's see, settings, joystick, they actually have their own joystick tester. Does not appear to be a way of adjusting the controls directly. All right, so let's take a look at the DRM info on it real quick. So this is Widevine. L3. So you can get full resolution on this one. Ha! Tommy says I'm doing. Yeah, you know what happened, Tommy, is that I had to resolve a networking conundrum that I had going on here. So that was delaying things a bit, but we've got the network problems worked out, so we're in good shape there. But I do have to probably call it quits here pretty soon. So, but yeah, we did a good. How long was this one today? This was a good 2 hours and 29 minutes. Oh my goodness! So that's quite a long time. Cool person says it seems there's considerable axial dead zone. Let me see. I don't see I don't feel one. And I'm not sure what, I have to look up what axial dead zone means, but it feels like there's not much of one here at all. Let me look that up real quick. Oh, it's on the diagonal lines. Let's see. Yeah, you know what? There's a little bit more of one on the diagonal. I will give you that. So if I move it this way or up, down, left, or right, it's pretty, but on the diagonal, it's a little less responsive. But not a lot. I mean, it starts tracking pretty soon after you move it. But yeah, it does. This one this lower one is probably a little bit more than the top one. But look at this, a little movement that way. So that is definitely something you are correct. And this is why I do these live streams. So I don't know much about the Ain Odin at all. Here's what I'm going to say about this company versus some of the other ones. So GPD, and then I got to wrap it up. GPD has been around for a long time. I have looked at probably half a dozen of their products at this point, and they have been. I've met them. I've actually seen they're at CES. The last time I was at CES. I met with them there. They put out a very high quality product, and that goes beyond just this Android stuff. They make PCs and all sorts of neat things. And they've been very consistent. They know what they're doing. They have a track record. So, you know, they have in the past done crowdfunding for some of these products. And this is a company that I would be comfortable crowdfunding with because they have a track record of actually pumping stuff out. For sure. So, you know, I would say if you had to choose between the two, I would do that. That said, price point wise, I was hoping this would be a little less expensive than it is because it is cool. But, you know, when the Steam Deck comes out, that's going to change the handheld market a bit because it is going to be a very capable handheld computer, you know, gaming PC for that matter. So. That is that. All right. So yeah, I would recommend this if it was $250. I'm going to caution people that you're going to buy this at $400, be very happy with it depending on what you want to do with it. But within a few weeks, months, who knows, the Steam Deck will be available with much greater capabilities for less money. So that's one of those things you have to kind of figure out. But who knows when the Steam Deck's going to be available, and you can get this now. So, you know, if you're somebody that likes to buy something for the short term and resell it, you might be able to do that. So there you go. All right. Guess what? The family is en route. So I got to get my butt in gear cooking dinner. So that is the plan here. So we had quite an adventure today with networking problems and all sorts of stuff, but the good news is we've had a good first go with this. I got to play around with it a little bit more, get some things figured out on it, and we'll have a full review coming up soon on the main channel here, so be on the lookout for that. And I want to thank you all for tuning in. I especially want to thank our super chatters, including Zam, Josiah, Eric's Variety Channel, and Prime. And again, apologies to Prime because I did not see that question earlier and I missed it. So I greatly apologize for that. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in. And it was chill. Yeah, it's good to be chill. No rush. But now that garage door is opening, the minivan, I can hear it driving in to the door. So I got to get cooking here. So thank you all for tuning in on Amazon and on YouTube. And I will catch you on the next one. Stay tuned. You never know when I'm going to pop up again, so do the notifications. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.